Hello, welcome back, everyone. So the thing that we were just discussing, slides slash inserts on the various talks. I have marked down something in the agenda. I think we should actually design something. I don't know if we need to customize these like one or two slides for each of the presentations that we can put them in, like in Arun's HP talk or the Microsoft one for Rajat. I don't know if they can be the same one or two slides, but we should probably like make something up so that they can, include them in their decks.
Yeah, for the one for the storage talk in particular, I was thinking about going back to our original slide deck where we kind of had like this is the OCP diag framework and these are all the places where we would insert it to show how they could then go and take their storage diags to use them for validation or a vendor or whatever, right? And then I was going to list all the different executives environments we support right now. I don't know if that would apply to every talk though.
So, Dan, did you actually start on the slides for the, presentation that we would have had a while ago? Do you have anything there? Maybe we can use for these.
I didn't. The only thing I had put together was sort of like a little, just text document saying what I was thinking that we were going to present. And then a lot of it was actually founded on some of the work that the folks were doing on the NLP processing and logs and things there. But no, I didn't actually start creating any slide content for it.
Okay, that's fine. So, I would ask who has some bandwidth to deal with this because we're kind of nearing the OCP summit, and I suppose like if we want to have like one or two slides in the various talks that got accepted, we need to make those slides.
Yeah, I'll sign up for the one since I was already planning to do it.
Okay, perfect.
I'll share it with you guys before the meeting on next Wednesday.
What else do you need?
Come again, Karen?
What else do you need? So you signed up for slides. Is that covering everything? Or is there anything else needed?
Well, I mean, you can see if it's appropriate for your talk, Arun. But it was more about like all the ways that you can plug in the diag framework into other use cases and things. I don't know if that's appropriate for all the talks. Like for the Microsoft talk, I'm not super sure, right? Like that wouldn't be applicable because that's only for validation. It might not make a lot of sense there.
And Adrian, I have a question. Yeah, sorry, I missed a couple meetings because I had a newborn and now I'm going back to work. I'm still wrapping up the work on virtual client side, but could you help me understand, is there like any updates to the OCP summit presentation? Is that a presentation for a duration or it's a booth or like what kind of
Okay.
like presenting? Yeah, are we
We
doing at the
we
OCP?
okay, I got it. We don't have anything.
Yeah, well, sorry, Yang. When I was referring to the Microsoft presentation, it's a different one for GPU management. It wasn't the one related to the work that you guys have been doing with virtual clients specifically. It's sorry if I caused confusion.
Okay. So we are not. So this test and validation is not doing anything at the OCP summit.
No.
No, you're not on the hook for anything.
Okay. Uh, if I mean, when did that happen, or was that the plan?
I don't know if you're on the call when that was being discussed. So the main presentation that we would have had for the OCP test and validation project, we don't have that slot approved, so we don't have that. Now the discussion we were just having now was based on the fact that other people in this group have other presentations that got accepted on other topics, not test and validation specifically like this group. And they have suggested that we add like 1 or 2 slides in those presentations
Okay.
to reference the OCP test and validation.
Okay. Okay, I got it. Thank you.
All right, no worries. All right, let's we have more stuff on the agenda, but let's do a quick status before we continue. So I'm gonna name some random names. Igor, do you have any updates on the MEM tester?
Yeah, just 1 second. My video doesn't turn on. Oh, okay, here. Yeah, so MEM tester. Yes, I do have a first prototype version of MEM tester, and I need to clean it up, and I'm planning to publish it this week, so maybe tomorrow or on Friday. But I want to share some observations that I made while working on it. So it looks like there is no good tool for parsing streaming output of a program, at least in Python. So as you know, memtester outputs some results while it's still working, and we want to capture it so that the diag could, update its status in runtime. Now the problem is that this text has some structure that needs to be recognized. It is easy to recognize with regular expressions, but the problem is that in Python, regular expressions require the entire string, so you cannot really apply it to the text partially. So, by the way, how much time do we have? Is it fine that I'm giving a detailed talk, or
maybe a couple of minutes? If it's too detailed, we should continue on Slack.
Okay, sure, just a few minutes. Anyway, there is no tool to parse text output of a program if it's a streaming output. And what I tried to use a famous tool called lex-yak. There is a Python implementation of this tool. It's basically a pair of tools. Lex is a lexer that splits your text into tokens, and yak is a parser that recognizes sequences in these tokens. So I used it to recognize the structure that memtester outputs. So memtester gives you basically loops, and each loop contains a number of tests, and all these tests have statuses. It can be OK status, or it can be a list of failures. And we need to, I think, capture all that.
So can I interrupt you with a question? Based on what you're saying right now, I understand that the thing you want to do is like parse the outputs from the binary and rewrite it to be OCP standard output, right?
Exactly.
Right. And was there no option of being intrusive to the diag to make it output the things directly in the OCP diag output?
You're saying we can rewrite memtester and include expressions that report status in runtime. Is that right?
Yeah. So what Dylan did, I mean, correct me on this, Dan, if I'm wrong, but to my memory, Dylan took the SAT code base and added various points in it with like outputting measurements, various OCP objects directly, and this is using the C++ API, right? The one with base up. So my question is, was this not an option? And for context,
it is always an option, but you will see some problems with this option. For example, you cannot use your native memtester that comes with your operating system. And you may have different architectures like ARM, x86, right? And this means you need to compile your diag for every architecture. With Python and with if we make Python invoke the native mem tester, we don't have this problem basically. And also people may feel better about using native mem tester because it's a recognized tool that already exists. If we rewrite it, well,
Okay.
it's
So
our own mem tester.
You're correct on that, in that we have to build for various architectures, which is actually the case for the set diag right now. But you know, I'll just comment that if you want to go through a Lexer parser and interpret basically arbitrary inputs, or that may change at any point in time if the mem tester upstream changes the outputs, that is quite fragile. Just putting that on the table.
I understand that, yeah, but I didn't see that mem tester changed in recent years. I mean, it's output format, so it seems to be stable, but obviously nobody guarantees that. And I do have a version check actually, so that if you have a mem tester with a version that was not tested, you would get a warning.
Okay, go ahead then.
Yeah, Igor, did anyone happen to talk to you, like internally, you know, we had to rewrite memtester to thread it because it was just getting slow on very large memory systems. So like the internal memtester we have is very different from the memtester that you're using. Did you get a chance?
Yes, Yanlin mentioned this actually. I do know that we have an internal memtester. Do we want to publish it and use it, or do we want to stick to the native memtester? Because again, if we rewrote it, then people may have less trust to this memtester, right? Because we change things and we don't know if you know, it tests memory properly. But the original memtester, I think a lot of people use it, so it's viewed as a, you know, baseline implementation. But if we need to speed it up, of course, we can just compile our own memtester and provide a binary or even source code.
So I think the challenge with using our internal one was more around the fact that we've embedded all the proprietary code decode logical addresses to physical addresses, right? Which was going to be the other question that I had. How were you planning to handle that in sort of the, were you just going to give the bad address of the memory and not try to decode to a part, for instance, which is what memtester does right now?
Yes, it can be actually like another diag maybe with additional functionality, a diag that gets addresses and converts them to dim IDs or names.
Okay, yeah, it's probably not a diag, probably more of a utility, but
or utility, yeah, something like that. I can embed it in the original, in the memtester diag too, but it has to be based on open source dim detection tools.
Yeah, we just, unfortunately, there's very little open source stuff there. Almost all of it's proprietary in some way, right? It's going to be owned by a BIOS vendor or something. The only other comment I really had is if you do go down the standard memtester route, like it is the easiest route to do. Like obviously it's far more limited than what we have internally. I still think that's okay though. But also just I wasn't quite sure that I followed the concerns that you had over around like the streaming output and the parsing in Python. We can take that one offline because like we have lots of things that do that. I'm not sure what the complexity there is.
Right. But about using our internal memtester, I don't see why this is a problem with invoking it from Python. So we just compile our internal binary and we can also invoke it with the same diag.
Yeah, I think the complexity there is going to be is no one's really going to want our weird binary that they don't know where it came from. At least the weird binary that memtester came from, you know, has source code published with it, right?
Right.
Yeah, I don't want to go down the route of publishing binaries. I don't think it's...
So basically, we don't want to use our internal version externally.
I'm actually okay if we do. The only thing would be is that you would need to take out the Google specific bits that we may not own and not be allowed to distribute, right? Anyway, we can take this one offline a little bit. Like we're getting down to the weeds here, I think.
Okay, thanks for that. I'll ask for an update next time. Next up, Yang, do you maybe have an update on virtual client?
Yeah, sorry, I'm still working on it. Let's plan to have a demo maybe next week. Is that reasonable? I think I should will have it done in 1 or 2 weeks.
Yeah, no worries. I'm just asking to get feeling about how stuff is going.
Yeah, the only thing is there's a difference between the like the OCP format versus the .NET iLogger. So I think that like the OCP diag format like is very reasonable in Python, but I need to do some extra work on the .NET side because we're using the .NET iLogger. But that's like internal, so that's why I'm taking the extra time.
Okay, done.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Young, we have a lot of diagnostics internal. Well, they're not really diags. I guess they're more workflows, to be honest. But we're porting those to the OCP output format as well. So we would have to figure out like how would it work. For instance, you're taking your native formatting, putting it in the OCP. We sort of our native format. We're going to natively, I'm using the word native a lot, natively turn those to the OCP format. But then the question is, does that help you at all? Right? I'm not sure if it does or not. So we should sync and see how that would work.
Right now, I'm not doing any conversion. I'm doing direct output. So virtual client directly output OCP schema. But your idea, I think, is great as well. That we don't need to change our format, but do the conversion. Let me try the direct output route for 1 or 2 weeks. I think it still works. It just I prefer to be more elegant.
Yeah,
But
I think my point was a little bit different. Sorry if I didn't make it clearly. I was thinking, you obviously have your virtual client runner that can run workflows, right? You're converting
yes.
workflows now. If I converted our workflows to the OCP format, I don't know that that helps your native runner.
Okay.
That was the point I was trying to make.
Okay. So you meant the perf bench kit thing?
Some of them are perf bench, some of them aren't. It's like 8 different workflows that we kind of looked at the items in virtual client that we felt like, hey, we should probably add these as well.
Okay.
If they were something you already had, we didn't touch it, but there is a lot of overlap between the two.
Okay, great. It would be great to have another discussion with the tech lead on that side. So yeah, I can understand more and maybe you can split the work. Okay, thank you, Dan.
Thanks, Young. I will point out though, Dan, that proxying or filtering output, which is already in the OCP format, rather than parsing like stuff from like memtester, is a lot easier, right? Because you already know what the format is, and it's interpretable by machine readable. That's what I mean. All right, Venkat, do you have any update to share?
I think primarily that we're looking into the SSD tests, right? Like internally, I think I spoke to you about it. So over the next end of the month, right, like or next couple of weeks, we're looking to flip over like the FIO tests and kind of the FI tests that the Meta team is planning to open source to emit the OCP format using OCP TV. So that's kind of being scoped out. So that's pretty much the update from my end. I did want to kind of have a discussion later about like the Rust bindings. I don't know if that's like probably a longer discussion for next week that we can have. Yeah.
All right, I'll put that on the agenda, or I'll give you the link and you can put it yourself on the agenda. Thanks, Venkat. Dan, you were mentioning SSD and NVMe diags collab last week. Is this related to what Venkat just said?
I think it's the exact same thing, Venkat. You're working on this with Chris Sabol and those folks, correct?
Sorry, with whom? Chris?
Chris Sable and all of those folks
Okay,
on
correct.
yeah, it's the same thing. So I'll share the slide with you guys, and then I imagine you've seen the deck that they already put together. Were you on that? I think I saw your name on it.
Okay. I probably haven't seen that deck, but yeah, I'm specifically joining for the OCP DAG part, but I know that effort's been ongoing for a while. So
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, I think you're an author on the deck, but you haven't seen it yet. That happens to me all the time too, so no worries.
Okay, thank you. And Satish, do you wanna share any updates about the LMT tool?
Um, Sure. I think from my side, there was one action item is to like come up with an RFC for like how do we present the results in OCP compliant way. And yeah, I didn't finish it yet. I'm still working on it. I got pulled into something else. But yeah, that's something. And the other thing is like we are also planning to have something like a demo session from both of us, like Meta and Google, to see how the tool looks alike and what is the difference. And I'm looking forward for that as well. And there are major updates on the open source side. I'm sure Adrian and Francesco can give more updates on that.
I can mention that if you want. Francesco, do you wanna add anything? Guys, you unmuted.
Oh, no, go for it.
Okay, so yeah, I've been working with Satish this last week, and we have open sourced the Python LMT tool. I am finishing up some stuff because now we have to import it back into internal and make it work with like meta specifics and all of that. But basically, the open source version, the dev branch now works. Like you can actually run it against a device.
The main branch.
The both of them actually, main and dev. It's just you have to run the dev one in a different way. I wrote in the README instructions and stuff.
So that's awesome. When you say that you've open sourced it, it's not with the OCP output yet. It's the original sort of version of the tool, correct?
Yes.
Correct. Yes.
Still, that's great, man. That's fantastic progress.
It's OCP diag PCI under LMT. So it's with the rest of the repos there.
Okay.
I can send you the link in the chat. Yes.
Yeah, it's you may say something like this is interim or something until we get it into the format. It's kind of weird having something under OCP diag that's not compliant right now.
Yeah, work in progress. Okay, thanks, Satish. You did mention the demos. I had the demos for the agenda for today. I don't know how that's gonna work, but in the meantime, Hua, do you have any updates you want to share?
Oh, yes. So I prepared a binary release with, either existing open source code or the code can be open sourced. It runs on OBSS, but I was trying to get our legal approval on this. They say, okay, because it depends on the PCI utils, which is under the GPL. So when I release the binary, I have to tag along all the open source, all the source code along. So it's doable, but I am thinking of a different approach. Is I don't want to release my code and confuse people thinking that's the diag. I want to come from a consensus, a specification, and then provide the implementation approach. So I kind of put together what my tool look like currently, and we had a discussion with Dan and some other folks to get an idea of what it I got an idea of what it should look like from the test user point of view. I have a couple slides, and also for demo purpose, I can actually present what my tool currently takes in and spit out, and also either from the tool standalone point of view and also running under the Melton OCP 1.0, I think what it's called, what that output looks like. So I have that. If we have time, I can show it, but if not, we can do it some other time.
Go ahead, Dan.
I think you nailed it. I think your output of your sort of OCP 1.0 version of the tool, the Melton version, would actually be beneficial for Satish and everyone too, just to see what that looks like. Because honestly, Melton's not that far from the OCP format. They're fairly close.
Okay. Yeah, I can show it later. Yeah.
All right. So, well, we do have like half an hour left. Dan, are you interested in seeing this? You have to go in like a minute.
I'm super interested, but unfortunately, I do need to drop off right now. I need to go get ready for an interview. But what I'll do is I can follow up with Wall internally, and then we'll kind of take it from there. I will see you guys next week. Thanks, everybody.
Okay, thanks, Dan.
All right.
I'll have the slide for Vincat and others to review as well.
Right. So I was asking Dan this question because Satish, you also want to have a demo, right, with the tool. So if you don't have that ready for today, maybe it would be a good idea to like join them in the same call, but we can also do them separately. I don't know, your pick.
Sure. I think a few weeks back, I think Francisco provided us a before view, but yeah, we can do another demo. That should be fine as well. I'm ready even today. Like we do have DUTs and stuff. So once WA is done, if time permits, we can also run through a small demo.
Okay. So
And
if you're, go ahead, Francisco.
so we will also provide some instruction on how to create the config file. Maybe in on your system you can test the open source.
Yeah.
Okay, so Hua, we can probably have the demo today if you're ready with that. But before we go on with that, let's finish the status. And I see Rajat joined the call. Rajat, do you have any update on the GPU compliance diag? Rajat? Okay, we'll get back to Rajat later then.
No, can you hear me? I was having trouble finding the minimized button. Sorry. Yeah, we've been so NVIDIA and Microsoft have been creating adding more test cases to the framework plus enhancing the framework as well. The only I wish I could get some time with you to like walk through how we have implemented it also once, so that because there's some aspects of it which is OCP TV reuse, and there's some aspects of it which is not. So and maybe there's scope for reuse in those other places as well. So that is my only concern, Adrian, on that. But we're actually getting along. We're having good number of commits kicking in. And we have platforms where we are able to validate it on. NVIDIA has platforms where they are able to validate it on, and the different flavors, and that's a good thing because we're able to get cross-platform verification done for that as well. Overall, good. Overall, good. The only thing is we're still sticking to the developer branch acting as the main branch for now. Okay.
All right, great. Thanks for the update, Rajat. There was a question from Arun a while ago. Bhushan isn't on the call, but maybe you have some idea what you can ask him.
Sure.
I know we discussed a while ago that NVIDIA would send some GPUs to the HP colocation. Do you know anything about that?
I don't know, but I did ask Bhushan to follow up on that because this was a concern a while back as well, right? Let me check with Bhushan once again as to where what the plan was for that. There is also demos being planned as a part of the OCP summit using the tool for the RAS and manageability interfaces, and probably firmware update as well, work stream. It's not finalized yet, but there is some plan of having a demo of the tool as well, like a very brief demo of the tool in this and under the same work stream. But yeah, so maybe they may. I don't know if they plan to have systems for that, or will it be a recorded demo? I'll ask that, and your exact open to Bhushan.
All right. Okay, got it. Got it. Thanks. There was one more item in the beginning. I don't think you were in the call then. We were talking about the talks that got accepted, and I think you had one for the GPU compliance, and you agreed to put in like 1 or 2 slides for the OCP test validation reference. Just letting you know that Dan is took the action to make those slides.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you. Absolutely.
Okay. Thanks, Rajat. Anyone else have any updates that they want to share right now? Okay. Cool. Thanks. Well, the stage is all yours for the demo.
Okay, thank you. Let me present. God, I can't. Where's the presentation button?
Did you join with the application or with the web?
Web. Oh, share screen. Okay. There we go. And this is the one. Share. Okay. Do you guys see something coming up? Look like JSON?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So let me do it this way. So I have a few things. I'm gonna show you what I have, and we can pick and choose which one we're interested in. Okay. So here, can you see my slides?
Yes.
Okay. So basically, this is what I show Dan and other people what my current tool kind of the structure look like. And after the discussion, I come up with this thing and what I think it should look like. And also there's some question proposal. And we can talk about those if you're interested. And then here is what the tool kind of under Melton comes out, the diag messages. And this is the, okay, to understand this thing, we should refer back to my block diagram. But this is kind of extracted from the raw results. Currently, it's in Proto. And then along with this thing, there's the test config as an input to my tool. And also I have the definition for those proto field. Yeah. So, okay. Let me just go back to the slides and start doing explaining the diagram. Make it bigger. Is it coming up bigger?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So here, this one, the top row is the use case. Like there's a bench use case or manufacturing or data center regression use case, and then going through open test, and then it goes into the diag layer, and at the bottom is what hardware kind of supports the lane margining and receiver feature. So in this diag layer, there's the two main parts. One is the can you see my pointer? Does it show?
Yeah.
Okay. One is the Lemargin 2. It's the generic standalone binary executable. And it only knows about PCIe and nothing else, nothing about the DUT or the system. Okay, and currently it's called by a test harness that calls this binary and also interface with the OCP, the Mountain layer output. And these are all packaged along with the DUT specific test config, and then it'll package up the DUT result. These are the proto I just showed, and the proto will be interpreted by a DUT specific result interpreter. That's a kind of a callback or plugin to this test harness and give a Mountain DAG result. That's how it's currently working. Okay, so to okay, let me how do I go back to here? Okay, so to refer back, okay, let's look at the Mountain the DAG JSON. I assume people are familiar with these format things, and I just want to show. Please feel free to ask questions, chime in. Okay, this is for example, I purposely make the test fail, and because only when it fails it gives out these diagnosis, and only kind of pinpoint where it failed. So basically it gives the BDF and has A receivers, which A lanes at a port. In this case, it's a pseudo port.
These are 8 lanes.
These are by 8. It's a 1 link by 8. At a by 8 link. So this I made it fail at a retimer pseudo port. So you can see this is kind of enumerated value for retimer upstream port.
So here it says tested 24 receivers but expected 32. Does this mean that the link was down and it was a link with the 8 lane link, or does this mean
yes,
that...
good question. Okay, so no, it's I'm using a test a bench machine to do it, and it doesn't have the full system. So some chips are not populated. Okay, that's why it's missing
okay.
So some receivers, and
okay.
this is okay. The good thing you point out is okay. My tool doesn't really know about the system. It only knows about the PCIe link, and this check is part from the harness layer that I give it a DUT specific check how many receiver you're expected to test. So it can tell you if anything is linked down, it didn't run the test. Okay. So so this one, it tells, okay, it gives the error out and at which UI offset on which direction, and the step, okay, which is correlates with the UI, and how many error it got, and this is how many samples that's at the point of failure, right? So, and you can see this is on one link, and the same diag runs on this is on not a separate link. So basically, one diag can do multiple link, but it has to be symmetrical link. I actually that's one thing I want to get a consensus on how, like, for example, what's the scope of one diagram?
Yeah.
Okay. Since we're talking about, okay, so my thinking is that at the maximum, it covers multiple symmetrical link on one PCIe, root complex. So the user can specify, for example, I can want to test all the links that to identical GPUs in the system in one diagram.
We
then
run the same way, meaning
okay, good.
Homogeneous. We expect people to want to do homogeneous interface in an homogeneous fashion, because the expectation would be that they have a similar margin.
Exactly. Yes. So in that sense, for example, if we have separate link to a NIC in the system, it has to be a separate diagram.
Yeah.
Right. So we agree on that. And another reason to do that, we can specify the test target by the vendor and device ID. Basically, right. So that brings out all the link to be tested. Okay. It's good. We're thinking the same.
Yeah, even the output is very similar.
So these are actually extracted basically by it's the test harness layer kind of reads my tool output in this proto. Okay, it doesn't have to be proto. I mostly use the proto in the text form, so I'm okay to go into use JSON. Probably it's better. So basically these are the proto raw output and being kind of extracted the failure and reported in the Melton format, right? Okay, so so ignore, like, if I throw away my tool, okay, current what it does, and thinking about if I'm using some standard tool from OCP, what I kind of want it look like. So this is kind of some what it may look like, right? Same from different use case. And this layer, I want to the user should know how to configure the test and how to interpret the result. Okay, these can be in JSON format, and these of course are dot specific, and goes into the diag. So we can talk about whether we want to separate the diag into the tool part and the test harness part. We can discuss about that.
So this is actually why last time I was reticent to say too much about the output being compliant or not, because I think this picture is exactly what I had in mind. And so as a generic standalone tool, you configure with the JSON the what you want to test, what BDF, what step, which direction, and then you get an output, and then the output needs to be interpreted, and that part, I think, is the diag part of this job. Everything else is the measurement part of this job. So I think this picture really explains it extremely well.
Okay, good.
Can I jump in for a second? Yeah. So first, I have a question. Standard OCP runner there that has the user interpret result in it. This is the thing that would look at a series of measurements, let's say, so just data, and makes a decision to produce a diagnosis. Is that correct?
It's kind of, yes. It's a way to add. Okay, so So this is actually what I asked here, the second question and proposal. Okay, the harness and LMT, what's the separation? Okay, why we have two separate things is that the tool is PCIe aware only. It only knows about PCIe spec. It has nothing to do, no knowledge about your system or your DUT. Okay, and that's why we need this kind of harness to bring in some user DUTs system specific part of it, interpreter, and for example,
Okay.
the PCIe hardware information is like, say, when we have a failure, okay, this tool only knows the BDF, but if the test runner, okay, sees if it want to receive a plugin card, it needs to know where that plugin card is. Okay, so that depends on the system to point it to the slot.
Okay. So this has like a more global view of the system. Well,
Yeah.
the LMT is just, this is the link that you have to measure. Tell me what the margins are, right?
Right. There's no PCIe only spec, and by having another advantage of having it separately, it can be implemented in different tools, different languages, right?
Okay, got it.
Python versus C++.
So what I was saying last time, Francesco, was kind of this as well. So my proposal, if you remember, I was saying, you can have like a layer which only produces like measurements, but it produces them as OCP outputs. And it doesn't know anything about diagnosis, right? And then you have this other piece on top, which knows more about the hardware or whatever, and can make determinations to produce diagnosis.
Perfect. Yeah.
Okay. See, another thing we want to be careful is that, okay, I have this dot error here is I kind of still like to have the standalone running capability from the bench, right? Without outside of the OCP thing. But I don't want to burden the user with multiple, input output to the tools. So I kind of want to collapse the tools part of it with the OCP. See if the OCP standard can incorporate the tool specification.
But the output would not be different because both of these pieces produce OCP JSON output. So the first one only produces measurements, and the second one takes the measurements, proxies them out, and adds diagnosis.
Yeah. Okay.
Jason, Adrian, I think that here it's the lab bench characterization in-house, I think, question. Would that run using a different input compared to the green way of running it in an OCP compliant?
No. So what I just said was specifically on outputs. So the outputs should not have an issue with this. Inputs is a different discussion.
Input, we can have it to be able to filter out what it doesn't care about, right?
Yeah.
Only look at the test related stuff. The tool can ignore things in the input config.
Yeah.
Right. I see a couple of hands.
Let me take a question from Vincent.
Yeah, go ahead, Marcus. I can go after if it's not answered. You're already starting to answer my question.
There we go. Sorry. So I'm a little confused. So is the idea here that the standard OCP runner is the thing that's doing all of the validation of the inputs of all the measurements, and that's kind of doing the analysis of determining whether something passed or failed, and then you're saying the tool would be just producing data. Yeah. And so is the standard OCP runner meant to be a generic thing that applies to any OCP diag, or is and it understands how to do evaluation on any tools melting OCP output, or is it very much specific to this tool and it's just these two pieces stuck together?
Okay, so let me try to answer. I think in short, it's TBD. Okay, TBD to be determined, because it comes from how I run it currently. Okay, and we have this layer, and it's a little bit Google specific because it has something to extract the hardware information that's outside of the PCIe. Okay, so I think we can start off with a standard runner only for this diag, but keep in mind potentially there may be other diag that can benefit from this structure. Okay, implement more like in a more general fashion, and that's why we want to define these, kind of these virtual functions, right? That user can override and use their own. We want to define all these hook places that user can plug in their function calls. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
Sounds like a big project if you want to generalize that to any kind of interpretation. Go, Vincent.
Yeah, I wanted to circle back on the parameterization and the input. Most of the time when we run these types of PCI diagnostics, we run them in a background mode, so they run continuously throughout an entire test suite or test plan. How would you envision here inputting parameters, say taking the manufacturing use case or the validation lab bench? Where do you specify things like duration or runtime or pass-fail criteria?
How?
You maybe someone else can
Yeah.
because how currently we
So,
run it currently is
yeah.
probably should in a test configuration, and
Yeah.
that speaks to the diag or this test runner portion. Maybe you have that answer.
Vincent, I think that it's not right to say we are running a bunch of tools today in a certain way, and we expect to run something that is completely different in a similar way. So in this case, we are trying to measure the number of errors while moving the observation point around and trying to find when things are breaking. And we're doing so that we wouldn't necessarily have to wait for 10 hours or 24 hours for a manufacturing test to fail on its own, just waiting enough time. The idea is that you would be able to spot a marginal problem. Maybe you want to get the system in the corner condition of temperature or voltage that you want to do, but then you should be able to run this and collect for a dwell time of 10 seconds, 30 seconds, whatever it is, and actually get an extremely high signal information out of this tool. Much more high signal than even waiting 24 hours in a typical condition type of run and waiting for errors to happen.
No, I appreciate that. I'm asking specifically where does that input go of the frequency, the cadence, and the runtime arguments like that to the test. Is that expected to be in the test config that here is called out in green for JSON dot specific, but it seems more also environment specific, right? So the JSON config contains the layer above it as well,
Vincent,
right?
Yes.
Okay.
Vincent, you're asking more stuff in the realm of execution of this whole thing, right?
Correct.
So that should be like parameters for the test executor, not for the diag.
And I wanted to make sure that that is considered here, and it sounds like it is in the test config.
If it's in the test config, then whatever sits above that then can feed that input.
Yes,
Okay.
I think this, I want to, maybe, okay, we want to separate, it's a decision to make whether we want to separate the config for the tool from the parameters for the text executor, or we can have different layers defined in the same config.
I'm good. I just wanted to make sure that this test config was not just dot specific, but it was also environment. So I think I'm clear now. Thanks.
Yeah, I think it's your test. Yeah, test specific. Yeah.
Sorry, what is the test executor in this diagram? Is it the OCP runner?
It's on a different slide. It's open test.
Yeah, I think it's it's probably this thing here, right? That's the open test layer.
Right. So are you saying though this open test is missing in the other diagram?
Well, yeah, I took it out because out of space.
Oh, okay, that's fine. Yeah, that's what I was wondering.
So I imagine that fits in between these,
Okay.
the config and the diag. Yeah.
That's good. And sorry, one more question. Sorry, Francisco, your hand is still up. You have a question?
All the end, sorry.
Okay. So when you say JSON DUT specific, I'm assuming the content is DUT specific, but not the format. The format is the standard format. Like you're going to have same format for any DUT.
Yes, like for example, I have my proto definition, right? All these fields. I think we should standardize on the schema, the JSON schema thing to define what fields we take, and then user can fill those in.
Sounds good. Yeah, that makes sense. And the last thing is, I might need a more deep dive into the tool, like how do you run parallel? How long does it take to run through one sweep and things like that? Maybe we can take it offline.
Yes.
But yeah, this is very helpful. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I think hopefully it gives people a big picture. I think we're out of time.
Okay, so yeah, we're on time. Satish, I'll talk to you if you wanna make a demo next time, and we can continue these questions about the tools.
Sounds good.
Thanks for the demo presentation, and thanks everyone for joining, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Yeah, thank you all.